Vitamin Water Zero Sugar has great taste, zero BS, and obviously, zero sugar. For those with zero room in their calendar. Zero patience for slow walkers. Those who get 0 hours of sleep on a Saturday night. Have zero filter, zero given, and zero interest in grabbing a plain, boring water. Grab a delicious Vitamin Water Zero Sugar today.
Does it ever feel like you're a marketing professional just speaking into the void? But with LinkedIn ads, you can know you're reaching the right decision makers, a network of 130 million of them, in fact. You can even target buyers by job title, industry, company, seniority, skills, and did I say job title? See how you can avoid the void and reach the right buyers with LinkedIn ads. Spend $250 on your first campaign and get a free $250 credit for the next one. Get started at linkedin.com/campaign. Terms and conditions apply.
The Hilton sale is on. Now through September 29th, you can save up to 20% on stays this fall and beyond. Long weekends, last-minute getaways, holiday gatherings. There's a Hilton stay for all of them. More moments, more experiences, more destinations. Now 20% off for a limited time because it matters where you stay. Don't wait. Book by September 29th and save up to 20% at Hilton.com. Terms apply. Hilton for the stay.
Wish you could become a morning person? You know the type, up before the sun, early morning runs, first one to the office with donuts and a smile. How do they do it? Easy. With the new Galaxy Watch 8, sleep tracking and personalized insights from Samsung Health help you improve so you can wake up to a whole new you. One who, dare I say it, skips the snooze? It's possible. Train your sleep with Galaxy Watch 8. Learn more at Samsung.com. Requires compatible Samsung Galaxy phone, Samsung Health app, and Samsung account.
Navigate the gauntlet of uncertainty the world throws at your business with SAP. Whether it's a tropical storm hitting your warehouse or a short supply of those little plastic twist ties, SAP can help you tackle those unexpected crushing setbacks with its AI-powered capabilities. To pivot to new suppliers, automate paperwork, and source the twist ties you need at the price you want, so your business can stay unstoppable. Learn more at sap.com/uncertainty.
Hey all you heroes, hawks, heralds, crows, pirates, and wardens. Welcome to the Dragon Age Lorecast, where we unpack, discuss, and galaxy brain about all the lore behind the Dragon Age series.
We are so excited to bring you this podcast. Every episode, we'll be talking about a different topic in the Dragon Age universe, from character deep dives to exalted marches and elven gods. We will cover it all.
There will be spoilers. And always remember, swooping is bad.
And welcome to the Dragon Age Lorecast, where we talk about Dragon Age and its lore. I'm one of your hosts, Austin, also known as Teacup, and I'm here with my other host.
That's me. I'm Shelby or Shecup.
And for some reason, I feel like it's been forever since we've gotten on the podcast, but that's not true. It's only been a week. We recorded last week. And so, but we are here for our lovely patron chat. Our patrons are here for a great patron. We have some of them here with us. And so I'm going to let them introduce themselves. I'm just going to go off my screen. And so first we have the Crimson Knight.
Hello, I'm Steven, or the Crimson Knight.
And then we have LVCC13.
Good morning from my time zone. I am LVCC13.
And then last but not least, we have CW Rogers.
Hello, good morning, or good evening from my time. You know what, time isn't real. I'm CW Rogers 6 in the Discord, or Charles.
It is currently 7 p.m. for me and Shelby, so that's where we're at. Yeah, so we're here to talk about Dragon Age, but specifically Dragon Age What If. And now we do want to preface this. This is like down to Dragon Age within universe what ifs, not like what if EA never owned BioWare, which I know we all dream of that alternate universe, but that's not what we're here to talk about today. So I'm going to turn it over to Shelby.
I do want to go back because you said you feel like it's been a long time since we've recorded a podcast, but it has been a long time since we've had the patrons on. So thank you all for being here as always. Let's just go ahead and dive right in. Who would like to go first?
All right. So I will admit that I'm kind of making these up as I go. So if I say one from last time, it's not my fault. I'm not caffeinated enough yet. But I was kind of thinking, what if, like in Veilguard, what if about halfway through the game, all of a sudden we hear a whole bunch of commotion happening in the lighthouse, and we walk outside, and suddenly, just sitting there, covered in spider goop and other random dead demon bits, is Hawk. Otherwise, totally and completely fine, and being like, how did I get here? Because we all know Purple Hawk is canon Hawk. How do we think the companions would react to that? And would that like automatically do something to make Rook realize that Varric isn't actually there? Because we all know that the first person that Hawk would actually have an emotional reaction in front of would be Varric. And if Varric's not there, that's going to do something weird. I'm just saying. But what do we think would happen?
I think Hawk is sussing that shit out in about 5 minutes and going into the dream prison and beating Solus to death with hammers.
Yes!
Hawk can't be involved in the plot because they would figure it out too quickly.
Even though they're stupid. That is exactly what would happen.
No, Hawk is pretty stupid. Like, beautiful stupid and regular stupid are not the same stupid.
I know. Purple Hawk is the sarcastic, weirdly competent in everything, but is so freaking dumb. The best kind of stupid.
I also feel like if Hawk was in Veilguard, things would just happen. They wouldn't plan anything. Hawk would happen to find the Lyrium dagger. Not go looking for it. Hawk would happen to be like, oh yeah, here's this magical ballista. Hey, crows or shadow dragons, you want to use it to kill a dragon?
That is a criticism that I used to hear about Dragon Age 2's writing, which was that despite the game making a big deal about how Hawk's actions matter, there's a lot in the game that's just sort of happens to them, that's just sort of out of their control. I don't think this is a criticism personally. I think that's the narrative point of the game. But I do think the text does support that reading to just Hawk wanders into a particular situation and happens to stumble across the big plot MacGuffin, or just they'd walk straight into the dream prison because they thought they were going into the pantry.
Yeah, that literally is what would happen. And also, it's the argument between fate and your choices, which is really more philosophical than I think we give the writers credit for. It's how much of what happens to us do we really have control over? We might not have control over the events, but we have control over how we react to the events, which I think is actually something people don't think about with Dragon Age 2 that often. Maybe that was the whole point, guys.
I think that's fair, but I also think, for me, I spent all of Veilguard waiting for Hawk to show up in the lighthouse. And I knew that Hawk wasn't going to because it wasn't one of the choices we were presented with in the character creator. But I feel like it would have fit in perfectly. For a lot of reasons, but especially with the end of the Varric plot and just everything that happens with the Wardens, it just would have made so much more sense for Hawk to show up. But at the same time, I understand why it feels like it probably felt like to the developers not worth it for reasons of not everybody left Hawk in the Fade. In fact, that's probably a minority. I don't know. I don't know if it's a minority of people who make that choice. Just hypothesizing. But yeah, so I
think-
kind of get
Sense
both
another
sides.
poll.
Yeah. I think that Hawk in the Fade should be the canon ending, just because I think it makes the most sense. The only like warden I feel like shouldn't stay in the Fade, like canonically, is or who should stay in the Fade canonically is Logain, but that's such a small minority. But like I don't leave Hawk in the Fade because I'm too attached, and I think that's where players are.
Agreed. But my take is if there is one person in Thedas who can survive that, it is Hawk.
It is also
That's-
worth keeping in mind that the developers have added in the intervening time since Veilguard came out, the Hawk like armor chest that loaded into everybody's game. It's not DLC. It's as long as you have an internet connection and can download updates, you got it. So you got that chest. So no matter what happened to Hawk, either they disappeared at Weissopt after the events of Inquisition, and we don't know what happened to him, or they got left in the Fade. Somebody's out there who happens to have Hawk's armor, found the lighthouse, and dropped that chest off. That's canon. That's happened.
That's
we don't
true.
know who it is. But do you think they're taking Hawk's armor away if they're alive?
I think
Or
Hawk
it's
dropped
not
it
Hawk
off because they are
themselves?
done with
I
this
think
shit.
I think Hawk dropped it off themselves.
I
Is
agree.
what I'm getting at. Yeah, that's
They're like, good luck, not my turn anymore. I'm done. I'm on vacation. If you see me in Ravane with Isabella, no, you didn't.
Yeah, I don't want to move on because I thought this is not mine, but I thought that when Lizzie was first introducing her what if, that instead of Hawk it was going to be Sandal, which I think is even more hilarious because I'm just imagining big commotion, Rook, Nev, all these people run out and you just hear enchantment.
And then you could literally hear the collective screams of the fandom.
Like instead of the caretaker being the one right there, it's just Sandal.
That
Sandal's
would have
there.
been awesome.
I
Enchantment.
will die mad that Sandal was not in Inquisition. I
I'm
will
so
die mad
annoyed about it.
this.
Do they
set
show
it
up in Descent?
No.
They are nowhere. They are done after DA2.
It's just there's a journal entry that you can find.
Oh yeah, that's right. That's right.
Which, I mean, I partially understand because, like, at the end of DA2, when Bodan's like, hey, we're going to be leaving Hawk, like, Bodan's getting older. Like, we don't know how old he actually is. And I don't really know what the actual lifespan of surface dwarfs is. I feel like it's probably longer than Orzammar dwarves, but that's a whole other argument. But, like, he's not a young man anymore. And I mean, if I worked for Hawk, I would be like, I would look like I was 300 years old. Because can you imagine working in Hawk's house? Oh my God.
The worst part of working in Hawk's house would be dog.
No, that would be the best
That's the
part
best.
of working in Hawk's
No,
house.
no. I guess that's the worst part of cleaning Hawk's house if you cleaned it.
Yeah.
Oh, fair.
You know, handprints
I would
on the
like to posit-
chandelier.
I would like to posit, that all of the romance interests are worse than the dog to
I
clean up after.
guarantee you.
Every single one of them, except Sebastian, who has the problem of being Sebastian.
Yep. Can you imagine? I would not want to touch anything that Isabella left.
Isabella, Anders is right there.
That's true also. Like, and he lives in
The cannibal.
Yeah.
Anders strikes me as someone who leaves a dish in the sink to soak.
Now,
I
Austin.
can't judge. I do that too.
Now, Austin.
I don't do that anymore. I just leave it in there because I'm lazy.
At least he owns up to it.
That's arguably worse. Hey, he does the dishes, not me.
My boyfriend's in the next room. I'm way too smart to engage in this conversation out loud. I'd like to come to the next patron chat, please, by being alive.
Fair.
Speaking of being alive, that's a transition into the question that I actually had held over from last time. It's been I have two that I held over from last time. One that's in bold and one that's a secondary that we might have time to get to. But the one I bolded, that was like, I have to do this for What If Part 2. What if a Meriden had returned from the Frostback Basin?
Great.
Oh,
Great
that's a good
question.
one. Good one.
Orlais would burn to the ground.
Well, I don't think that Orlais would burn to the ground. I think that the Exalted March on the Dales would never have happened.
My very, very controversial opinion is I think it would have just later.
Okay, fair. Like after he's
dead.
Because
I argue. Yeah, I was doing a lot of thought about this, and I was looking up like the various tensions, and my conclusion was that the issue between the elves and the humans was systemic. That Ameridan could have put it off. Like maybe Red Crossing wouldn't have been what actually did it, but something was gonna do it. Something was gonna break.
I think that's fair. I also think, though, for me, the reason why I think that it would have been prevented is because if he had come back, there's absolutely no way that he would have let the elves just be hands off with the blight. He absolutely would have forced them to help. And I think that that is like, yes, Red Crossing is like the instigating factor, but I think that that bitterness about the blight is really what turns the tide into just full out human hatred against the elves. And I think that a lot of that could have been prevented. And of course, it is systemic. Like it's not just all one issue, but I think that that really did a number on their relations.
Well, I got to turn that around and suggest that maybe if the elves had like contributed more, that would have led to just a different kind of bitterness. If the elves sacrificed more for humans, and then humans were dicks, because we all know humans are dicks, that could have led to a different, maybe even deeper bitterness. Because
that's fair too.
Then it's, well, you mistreated us. We showed up to help you anyway, and fuck us, I guess, afterwards.
I think that's fair. I just don't necessarily think that I don't necessarily think that those tensions would 100% be Chantry focused the way it is in current lore. I think that what you're saying goes more to, okay, two different nations are warring with one another.
I think that war still would have happened. It just wouldn't have been an Exalted March, like Shelby said. But I wonder, though, like going off of that, what if the elves, if they had participated, like if Meriden comes back, they help with the blight. What if they had less losses and less damage than Orlais did? And then Orlais's pissed about that and they attack the Dales. I think that's when Orlais would burn to the ground because if that happens, Ameridan's going to side with the Dales, obviously. If they've got more resources and their armies and everything are healthier than Orlais is at that point in time, then there's no way that Orlais is actually going to be able to have a successful war there. Even if they are getting help from some of the other nations, we don't know how much like the other areas were damaged exactly, unless I need to go back and listen to some more episodes, which is completely true anyway.
I also have to wonder too about the presence of the Inquisitor and how that impacts like Orlais's relationship with the Grey Wardens. Because I'm just looking, I have Cordelia Strachan's, I almost said Wikipedia page because I am who I am.
That's
I have, everything about my life is embarrassing.
Just kidding.
I have his wiki page open here, and it does mention this march to relieve Weishaupt from siege. That the Orlesian Empire, like basically gets the Anderfels converted to the Chant, and there's a better relationship between the Orlesians and the Grey Wardens. I almost wonder if that happens if the Inquisitor is around, or if the Inquisitor is going to look at the Grey Wardens and go, I am suspicious about everything you people are doing. They haven't built up the cachet that they built up by the time of the 5th and 6th and 7th Blights.
Knowing, though, that you have to have a Grey Warden to kill an Archdemon, like, I think since everything they would be doing would not be killing the Archdemon, they'd still probably have to go and help anyway. but then he'd be
Mhm.
really suspicious of them in the aftermath. And I think that would sour the relations between the two. I think they'd still end up converting to the chant, but I don't think Orlais and the Anderfels would be as close in the aftermath. Or
But
Orlais and
also-
the Grey Wardens in the aftermath would be as close.
I really have to wonder about Ameridan and Emperor Draken's relationship in the first place, because to me it's an uneasy friendship, or at least it would have become an uneasy friendship, because there's no way that the Emperor of Orlais and this elven man, yes, he's the Inquisitor, but he's still an elf. It's not like they're just can walk down the street and like not get stared at, and so I just feel like there's got to be some tension in their relationship and their friendship anyway. And so I personally wonder, how long does it take before their friendship completely falls apart anyway?
Or
Especially
even-
if Ameridan's coming back alone. Like, all of his companions die during
True.
this. So he's coming back by himself. He's not going to be the same person he was.
Or even, how does history remember Ameridan differently?
Yeah.
Because he has the whole martyrdom thing going on and the whole mystery thing going on. We see what happened to him. A large part of Jaws of Hacken's subplot is about that. Look what happened to Shartan. Look what happened there. Is Ameridan going to go the way of Shartan, where he's going to be
Probably.
completely erased from history because at that point he's super visible? Or is the same thing going to happen where he's lionized in history, pardon the Orlesian pun, and eventually people forget the parts that made him, an actual person as opposed to this giant figure of history?
Yeah, I mean, I think personally that's just kind of what happens to historical figures, is that we forget about the things that make them human beings. But I do hear that, and for me, there's no way anything remains the same if he comes back.
Mm-hmm.
What if he comes back with our Inquisitor instead of at that time period?
Mm.
I think that depends on the Inquisitor
And the divine.
and the Divine. Him showing up with a Vivienne as Divine? No.
Ooh, that would be
No.
entertaining.
Claws are coming out, blood is being spilled in the Grand Cathedral.
Yeah, but I think either
Especially
of the other
if you have a
two would be
Dalish
fine.
Inquisitor.
Yeah.
I really want to expand this into a point of a Meriden and his reaction to Elgernot and Gillenane. And where is his emotional state? Because this is not a person who is like the Dalish that are, really, really beaten down. Yes, they still have the fall of Arlathon of that, but a Meriden probably remembers a little bit more of Dalish or Elven history than the current Dalish do.
Yeah.
And so what is it for him to interact with these beings that he might actually know were terrible?
Doesn't he have a shrine to Gillenane? And
Yes,
Negros
I think he does.
Day, but I think Gillenane is the elven goddess.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah, but he also has Dirthaman's Valasleen. So at some point I because he has Valasleen, I don't know how much of that kind of knowledge of them being terrible is out there. But guaranteed there is. He knows some stuff just because of how much knowledge that was lost in the Exalted March on the Dales.
Yeah. I also just think in general with a Meriden and these points of how much that changes the Chantry, I think almost and puts the Chantry in a better point to survive the Veilguard events than they are currently. Because the Chantry has already then had to come to terms with their leadership has changed history. Because they've been told Inquisitor Ameridan was human, not elven. These are the moments of and it's less with what they do now, that can obviously be debated. The Chantry can denounce that, and their everyday followers can twist the truth. But with a Meriden there, with a person there to stand beside the Inquisitor, that's hard to hide. that's hard for people to not look at that and say, that's Inquisitor Ameridan. What else is the Chantry not being honest about?
Everything.
And that kind of deconstruction, I think, would actually put the faith of Andraste in a better place to move on than they are currently at the end of the Veilguard.
Was it not this very podcast that did raise the point that the Chantry does kind of turn out to be right about most of their core tenets?
It is true.
Yes.
I
mean, they do. It's true. They are. Yes, you have to kind of reinterpret it in a little bit, but like, not all of their stuff is wrong. Like, they've still got some stuff going for them. There's still going to be adherence to the faith in Thedas. It's just statistically impossible that everybody's going to abandon the Chantry in the light of Veilguard.
Mm-hmm.
Look at doomsday cults right now far as like, no, I mean, like, in the sense that you have like a doomsday cult and they have a specific day to where, and this is a really prevalent thing both in sort of modern history and then going back a ways, but the day will happen. And a lot of times the doomsday cult in particular will look at their like reading of it and go, well, rather than saying, I was wrong about all of this, they will say, well, I guess we just got the date wrong. Or it was like a spiritual rapture. Or the world ended, but we just haven't seen it yet. They will find some way to reinterpret.
Or we miscalculated the date.
We miscalculated the date. That's my point that I'm making. If you look at those specific incidents, you can see, I think, where that thought pattern would come in. We even see it in the games a lot of the time.
Yeah, with the Dragon Age Doomsday Cult.
We see it with.
They march into the Blight during the second Blight, and then they get wiped out.
In Inquisition,
I can't remember the name of it though.
In Inquisition, one of the things that like you can reconcile with as the Inquisitor is if you say, "I was chosen by Andraste, I am the hand of the Maker," whatever, and then find out halfway through the game that's not true. You can wave it away as, well, you know, the Maker wanted it to happen. Andraste wanted it to happen. So technically I was still chosen by Andraste. Let's just move on from that really quickly.
You can even go like more stable than that. Like the Maker created the spirits. If this spirit is directing me, that is also the will of the Maker.
Exactly. You can do it. You can rationalize that away.
That's what I do with my religious inquisitors, actually.
Yes. But I think now's the time for a good point for our mid-break, so we'll get that, and then we'll get back with some more what-ifs. I think I've got a pretty good one. Unless someone really wants to go first, I can come back with the mid-break with mine. But let's go to the mid-break, Shelby.
Deborah had to have surgery.
I had hip surgery in November of 2024.
Her United Healthcare nurse, Crystal, checked on her.
We do a routine call after surgery, and I could tell that she was struggling.
Deborah needed help.
My infection markers were through the roof.
And Crystal knew what to do.
I called the hospital and said she's coming in.
And got Deborah the help she needed.
Crystal and United Healthcare saved my life.
Hear more stories like Deborah's at uhc.com. Benefits, features, and/or devices vary by plan area. Limitation and exclusions apply.
This episode is brought to you by FXX and Hulu. An all-new season of Futurama is back, blending heartfelt moments with razor-sharp humor while accidentally saving the day. The Planet Express crew is back, defying gravity and common sense. From the creator of The Simpsons comes 10 new episodes where the romance is hotter, the threats are bigger, and the action hits harder. Don't miss the all-new season of Futurama. Watch it Mondays on FXX or stream it on Hulu.
This podcast is supported by FX's English Teacher. Last year's critically acclaimed series returns to follow Evan, Gwen, and Marky as they vie for their students' divided attention. See why Cosmopolitan called its premiere season a masterclass of comedy, while Glamour raved it's the year's funniest and most heartwarming new comedy series. FX's English Teacher returns September 25th on FX. All episodes streaming on Hulu.
That is uncharacteristically wise of you.
Yes, well, don't let it get around. I have a reputation.
We hear odd stories of Templars in the Imperium, Dorian. All true.
I haven't even told you what I've heard.
Doesn't matter. All true. Particularly the part with the grapes and feathers.
Oh, I was leading towards that one, actually.
Please, go on. First Talon. What? Seeing if you've got the hang of your new title yet. Right, me. First Talon. If you join the Wardens, you could become the first Warden who's also First Talon. The first Talon Warden. Or First Talon First Warden. Is that the First Talon who is a Warden, or the first Talon First Warden? So many possibilities.
All right. Welcome to the middle of the show where we take time to thank our patrons like our patrons we have here. We love all of our patrons, and so a special thank you to all of our patrons who support us. If you'd like to join us on these chats or support us on Patreon, you can do so at patreon.com/DALorecast. Another great way to support us is to leave us ratings or reviews on Apple or Spotify. Another great way to support us is to leave us ratings and reviews on Apple or Spotify. If you leave us 5 stars and some kind words, we will read out your review on a future episode of the show. And so I do have one to read today that comes from our Veilguard autopsy episode. This comes from Eos and says, I finally managed to catch up with all the episodes after a year of listening to this podcast. Although it's sort of sad to end the season with, I wanted to thank you both of you for all the work you put into this podcast. It helped me learn more about Dragon Age lore and get excited about playing the games again. Enjoy your well-deserved vacation and congratulations on the baby. I will be waiting for the new season and more DA content. Thank you so much for that. And then the last thing I have for you is you could join us on Discord where we can all hang out and talk about Dragon Age and be very, very excited about that. And so you can join the Cups podcasting and more Discord and hang out with us there. And with that, that's all I have for the middle of the show.
Well, let's get back into it.
This reminds me of a story.
Shocking.
It's about an impossibly handsome dwarf and his friend who got crowned King of the Nugs.
A Nug King? Really?
It's not as good as it sounds. Nugs mostly just shit on the floor and roll in it. Welcome to the deep roads.
Is it me, or is this the slowest lift ever constructed?
It's better than climbing down.
I could do with some music. Something with a flute.
How about we skip this one? Send your man instead.
How about I shove a canary up your coal mine?
Oh, you fear barbarians will swoop down upon you.
Yes, swooping is bad.
If you thought goldenly breaded McDonald's chicken couldn't get more golden, think Golder, because new sweet and smoky special edition gold sauce is here. Made for your chicken favorites at participating McDonald's for a limited time.
Tonight, turn down the noise of the day and focus on the rest with AGZ, the nightly drink for winding down and resting up. New from AG1. AGZ supports your body's natural sleep cycle with clinically studied key herbs, adaptogens, and minerals in amounts supported by research. And no melatonin, helping you wake feeling rested. Wind down, rest up with AGZ. Learn more at drinkagz.com.
This episode is sponsored by Friskies, who would like to tell your cats hi. Now, if that didn't get your cat's attention, there's one thing that always does the trick. Just pour some Friskies crunchy food in the bowl and you'll hear those paws come running. Works every time. With so many Friskies choices, you can always bring your cats running from their secret napping spots. There's always more to explore. See for yourself at friskies.com or visit your local store.
Mint is still $15 a month for premium wireless. And if you haven't made the switch yet, here are 15 reasons why you should. 1, it's $15 a month. 2, seriously, it's $15 a month. 3, no big contrast. 4, I use it. 5, my mom uses it. Are you playing me off? That's what's happening, right? Okay, give it a try at mintmobile.com/switch.
Upfront payment of $45 for 3-month plan, $15 per month equivalent required. New customer offer first 3 months only. Then full price plan options available. Taxes and fees extra. See mintmobile.com.
I know you wanted to go first, so why don't you go right ahead?
So mine is also Veilguard related. It is one that I think I've been thinking about because, and I don't want to spoil this, but Shelby and I read a very, very interesting potential Rook identity Reddit thread. that was really, really great. If you want to know, I'll tell you after the patron chats, but I don't want to spoil a future episode of the show on here. But it was got me thinking, and I wanted to say, like, what if Rook is Andraste reincarnated? And like reincarnation in a like theological sense does not have like you if you are a woman or female presenting person, you do not have to be reincarnated as that. You could be reincarnated as really anything. So like this does not have to be gender restricted for Andraste. So like what themes emerge in this? Like how does the game change with Rook being the reincarnated Andraste?
I want to know.
Technically, they succeeded with Minrathous this time.
They did.
I feel like, especially if they have the memories of being Andraste, because that's my other question. Do they remember their previous life or not? Or are they remembering it throughout the events of the game, which I think would make it more interesting? I think they'd be hella pissed at the Chantry.
Yeah. I think it would be something that would be something you uncover. And maybe I'm letting my Assassin's Creed influence breathe in here a little bit with the Isu Sage kind of thing going on. But because they don't remember their reincarnation. They discover it later. But it would be really interesting. I also am just like I'm a sucker for these circular themes and these full circle moments of like as Rook reincarnated as Andraste, you are fighting against not just Tevinter, but the literal old gods of Tevinter.
I just want to know the reasoning. Like, how do you get from Rook is Rook to Rook is Andraste reincarnated?
Especially if they're sarcastic Rook.
Well, because the other thing we were talking about that we'll talk about next week, there's like good like logic behind it.
I don't have. Do I have to have logic for a what if? Can I not just pose the question?
I'm just asking.
I don't think there is logic other than like it being like more of a like this what if is more of like a storytelling device than it is like a lore kind of thing. Shelby didn't like mine.
I didn't say that.
No, that's what she said. She didn't like it.
No, I didn't.
You heard it here
that.
on the podcast.
I find that interesting in the context that Rook as a character's religion does not really matter.
Mm-hmm.
In the grand
I don't think we even really, other than an offhand comment like during one of the library roundtable meetings, know what Rook's religion is. Like
it matters.
There's only really one spot to say like, oh yeah, I'm Andrastian and this is shaking my faith a lot too. Or I still believe even though all this stuff we found out. Like that's the only time I think you ever really say anything about it.
Beyond that, only if you're playing as an elf that I found. If you're playing as an elf, it comes up a lot with Davrin and Balara.
Mm-hmm.
When you're talking about the gods, because
they're your
relating
gods
to
wrecking
them,
the world.
You get like special options because it's your gods as opposed to their gods. So the conversation does change slightly. But other than that, yeah, Rook's religion does not play as important of a role as the Wardens or the Inquisitors. Hawk really didn't play that big of a role, honestly.
Hawk's religion is sarcasm.
And it's also a point of like, I think it makes sense for Hawk to not be religious because, especially if you play a mage Hawk, like even the non-mage Hawk, like they're raised by a apostate. They've been on the run from the Chantry all their lives. Like it makes sense that like this kind of Hawk at the very best for religion would be just, I might believe in Andraste, but I don't believe in the Chantry. Whereas like with Rook, it's interesting because even an elven Rook, and I get this with like Strife, Balara, Irulan, Davrin, all these elves that we encounter, they don't speak even before it's revealed that they let out gods. They don't speak about them as if they were worshiping them. Which I find strange because Strife almost does have a kind of sense of Daedalus worship in the book, in the stories that we read about him.
That's true. He's where we get a lot of the information about those different paths.
Mm-hmm. So I just find it interesting that Rook's religion doesn't play a part of it But I do find it interesting in a way of like a lot of times religions emphasize like the divine working through unexpected means, things that the world isn't anticipating.
I think it was intended, tinfoil hat theory on for a minute, looking at like what we know about the development of the Veilguard, when it was Joplin and then it got rebooted into the soft rebooted into the Veilguard. The revelation that Solus is the Dreadwolf and the Dreadwolf is real, and by extension, the other gods must be real, I feel like was meant to disseminate more in the game itself. And when the Veilguard coalesced into the Veilguard, all of that had to be skipped and relegated quickly to tie-in material, which is why it sort of comes up in Vows and Vengeance. It sort of comes up characters learning, like, oh, are you talking about the actual Dreadwolf? Whereas by the time we get to Veilguard, pretty much everybody seems to know that Solus is the Dreadwolf, because they've all been working with Varric, and Varric had Nevin Harding told them.
It would be
Varric
really
can't keep a secret to save his life.
Right. It would be really interesting if it was like not just like the Inquisition spreading this, but the agents of Fen Harel doing it as well. Like, because I feel like that is kind of where like that whole like network falls off for the Veilguard. Like, because we're told at the end of Inquisition that all these elves leave Orlesian palaces. They leave where they're working because they're apparently agents of Fen Harel, and then boop. All right, well, that was mine, even though Shelby didn't like it.
Oh my God, you have got to let it go.
See, this time she didn't say that that's not true. She just said I had to let it go. So that means it is true.
Official stance, I'm indifferent. I'm going to turn it over to Steven, though.
All right. Well, mine is, what if Logain decides to lead the charge at the signal, and he and his army get wiped out? I think most of the plots of Origins are still going to be the same. Your character and Alistair are still going to be saved by Flemeth and sent on the quest to save Ferelden. But with Logain dead, like, Jowan is going to be taken into custody by the Templars and probably given the right of tranquility, which means Arl Eamon doesn't get poisoned. So he's there to help you as soon as you get there. Redcliffe isn't dealing with undead, and with Eamon able to help you right off the bat, Hal probably gets stopped a lot sooner.
I also think that... Oh, sorry, you go ahead.
Oh, no, go ahead. What do you got?
I was going to say, I think that actually brings up a more interesting plot point with Redcliffe, because what if you get to Redcliffe with Alistair and he stops and he tells you about, oh, I'm the illegitimate son of King Merrick. One, you smack him in the back of the head for not telling you that sooner. And two, you get there and Eamon's like, I could see that going one of two ways. One, Eamon is not happy to see you, just given the circumstances, but he's like, okay, Alistair, you can't be Grey Wardening. You have to start being the king here. We got to go to the Landsmeet and like get you on the throne. You're the only option we have here. Because he's not going to trust Nora as far as he can throw her. He'll probably trust her more now, all things considered, but those circumstances are going to change a little.
I think it actually sets up Eamon to push for the marriage of Alistair and Honora even more. For this reason, Honora is now not just the dower, like the widowed queen. Like, she's not just a queen whose husband died. She's now the Terran of Guarin. Like, she is, because there's no one else. Like, her mother is dead and her father is dead. So there is no one else to take that role. So she has to fill that role. And not only that of like, and I think Eamon and Tegan believe a Kuzlin warden that Hal murdered their family, and so I think the antagonist shifts to like the Logan antagonist shifts to Hal, but it's more of like you have more of the Landsmeet on your side if Logan falls at Ostagar, in my opinion.
I also think something interesting would happen with Connor in this timeline. I feel like something would happen while you're at Redcliffe to reveal that he's a mage, and that's your catalyst for going to the Circle Tower. It's still your catalyst for going to the Circle Tower because you're like, oh, we need to do something about this kid who suddenly got magic, and Isolde's going to be freaking out the whole time. She's not going to want you there because she's not going to want anyone to discover that Connor's a mage because she's keeping it a secret from everyone, including Eamon at that point, if I'm remembering correctly.
But does Connor still like deal with his possession? If Jowan would be like, because isn't Jowan summoned to Redcliffe to help Connor? That is why he is there. I mean, he works for Logain, but like he is summoned there by Isolde, I think, to try to help Connor.
But if Jowan gets caught first, like what happens?
Yeah, because I believe he is freed from the Templars by Logain. Like he's found by Logain first, and so then kind of sent to Redcliffe.
So it's like what they send to the Circle, and Connor might not be in Redcliffe at that point. If he couldn't do that, and the only path. This might be a really dark timeline for Redcliffe, because if Isolde is set on not sending him to the Circle, Connor might end up possessed.
Yeah, I think he ends up possessed anyway.
I would actually like to take the chance to jump in on that darkest timeline thing, because I've been letting this play out for a couple of minutes before I drop my opinion, but I want to drop it here and now before somebody else says it. I think none of that matters. I think if Logain charges at Ostagar, Ferelden gets wiped off the map. Regardless of what happens, regardless of what anyone picks, it doesn't matter if he goes, Ferelden's doomed. And here's why. Because what the Crimson Knight said was not Logain charges at Ostagar. What he said was Logain and his army charge at Ostagar. You've just lost Logain's entire army, which, yes, he's not fighting the Civil War, but you've lost this entire army to the Blight. You are basically relying on the good graces of Plymouth to pluck the Wardens out of the tower. And even if you manage to get 2 Wardens out of there, without that direct confrontation with Logain at the Landsmeet, first of all, even if the Landsmeet is called, without all of the political drama that gets involved, you do not have a big enough stage for the Wardens to essentially take command of Ferelden's armies for the duration of the Blight. You're going to have a much messier Landsmeet, especially if you start propping up, Marik's bastard son. You're going to have all sorts of claimants in a way that Logain was a very clear claimant to the throne, in a way that really nobody else in Ferelden was going to be. So you've got all of that going on, regardless of what happens with people. The Blight is sweeping through. Yes, people are not doing the Civil War, but also the Darkspawn are moving much faster, and you don't have all of Logain's troops or the band troops that were supporting him, that rallied to support him for the Civil War. Think about it like this, too. There were troops that mobilized for the Civil War that were ready to be mobile for the Battle of Denerim, which happened very quickly because they had already mobilized and were on movements for the Civil War that Logain started. That is my incredibly dark sweeping in to go, if that happens, Ferelden's going to fall. May have saved Ferelden by saving his whole army and trying to usurp the throne.
I think that this is another point of, like, you kind of hinted at this, but if this darkest timeline happens and this army is wiped out at Ostagar, along with the Ferelden Grey Wardens, the Orlesian Grey Wardens, the Grey Wardens at Weishaupt, are not coming in. They have their history in the Blights. Let's look at Antiva City in the Fourth Blight. When things turn tail and political rulers do not want to work, the Wardens peace out. They say
we'll clean you up later.
The Wardens don't step in until the Blight gets to Orlais. But I want to hear what Steven's rebuttal was going to be.
Well, I was going to say, like, Riordan is brought in to check out Ferelden. It's possible that he's able to get some of the Orlesian Grey Wardens to help him out. But also, there's a chance that Gaspard sees opportunity. If he decides doesn't want to deal with trying to fight his sister, cousin, whoever it is, for the throne, then
I got real Targaryen there for a second.
I just can't remember who it is, what their
sister, cousin, wife.
Yeah, whatever. It's Orlais.
It's Orlais.
But anyway, Gaspard could possibly see opportunity and come in, like, help with the Fifth Blight, and then take over Ferelden for himself.
I think that's what happens.
I also think there's another party that sees opportunity in this moment too, which causes a lot of problems, and that is the Architect.
Oh,
that motherfucker.
Yeah.
See, BioWare thought we forgot about the Architect, but we have not.
We will never.
No. BioWare hoped and prayed we forgot about the Architect. I don't think they ever had any faith that we actually did. Just saying.
Because I think he sees what happens, because he doesn't really decide. Like, he decides kind of at the end of the calling to be like, okay, maybe I don't do my plan that I was going to do to try to, like, make everyone Darkspawn. And then he has, like, a different plan in Awakening. He sees the unrest of, like, I can make a Darkspawn country, and rolls in to take over Ferelden.
Yes. There's one more point I want to make. Since Arl Eamon doesn't get poisoned, there's no reason to search for the for Andraste's ashes. Haven probably never gets discovered. So if Dragon Age 2 still happens and everything, and then 3 or 4 years down the road, they have the
Conclave.
The Conclave. Where is it being held? Because
one would
wherever it's
presume
being held,
in Orlais.
Yeah, wherever it's being held is going to get wiped off the map.
Maybe the Winter Palace, but I feel like that would be in Orlais.
They decide on Haven because it's neutral ground, because it rests between Ferelden and Orlais, and it is Chantry ground, so neither the Templars nor the Mages have an advantage really here.
My gut reaction was Navarra.
Or Jader, somewhere in
Navarra,
Jader, since it's so close to Ferelden.
It's close to the border. You can kind of make that argument, but I think
or where all this crap started, Kirkwall.
There is absolutely no way that Divine Justinian... First of all, there's no way Divine Justinia is going to go for that. Second of all, even if Divine Justinia was considering that, Liliana is about to put a stop to that real fast. If Liliana doesn't put a stop to that, Cassandra will.
Aveline is not letting them in the city.
Also true.
Because even when Varric is
maybe in
Viscount,
Starkhaven then.
Yeah.
I was going to say we could blow Starkhaven up. Nobody actually wants that.
No one would care. And then Sebastian doesn't attack Kirkwall. So we're good. Like,
Yay!
I do think this thought experiment proves to C.W. Rogers' kind of point he said the last time, is that the canon timeline is the brightest timeline.
Which is just sad.
That's kind of, I mean, when people do Star Wars what ifs, that's where I'm at, like that. Like, no, the canon timeline of Star Wars is the best timeline.
It could be a lot worse. You could get a random alien invasion 20 years after the movies from outside the galaxy for some reason. I
Yeah, the
really
Mass
like
Effect
Legends,
aliens
but I
invade
like
Star
making fun of
Wars.
it. That did happen. Yes.
You don't like the Yuzhong Thong?
I have a lot of opinions about New Jedi Order. That's a completely separate podcast.
Yeah,
All
we
right.
can't. We can't get into that.
I'm gonna message you later. I want to know because I'm reading that series right now.
We've got
Discord
to.
battle.
We've got to wrap it up, Austin.
I love everybody who wrote it. I have some opinions about it conceptually, and that's between me and Shelley Shapiro.
All right, Shelby, you've got yours left?
Oh, yeah, I didn't go. It's okay. I was going to bring up what if what if Alistair was raised as a royal bastard in Redcliffe or in Denerim? I don't know.
I think that's how he would have met the Kuzland daughter initially. And like, I feel like Merrick would have done some sneaky, like, fostering stuff to get them married because he's like, oh, this is a really good way to keep the Kuzlins on side if they're okay with my illegitimate son marrying one of their kids, which I feel like the Kuzlins actually would have if like the daughter actually really liked Alistair, which we all know she does.
I think
I'm gonna need somebody in the Discord to write that fic so I can read it.
Yeah.
I have read that one before, actually. There's one on Archive of Our Own. I remember reading at least one about it.
I think that Alistair has a better childhood, but a worse adulthood.
I completely agree. I don't think he joins the Wardens.
Mm-mm. Not unless Merrick instructs Duncan to take him.
Yeah. I also think he probably doesn't have a pretty good childhood anyway because, bastards aren't really thought of well at court. So
but I think he has a better child because I don't think that
better.
No one's going to cross Merrick and no one's going to do anything to him in front of Merrick because Merrick
that's fair.
Flip shit.
And he's not going to have
an evil stepmother.
Right. And I don't think that Logain, I think once Merrick leaves, if Merrick still leaves in this timeline, which I think he probably would because he's Merrick. And I think that if he still leaves in this timeline, Logain just ignores Alistair. He's so focused on raising up Kaelin and all of that, so Alistair is free to do what he wants, and there's less emphasis on all of that things. Because Rowan is dead by the time that Alistair is born, so he doesn't have to worry about that kind of stuff going on.
I wonder though, would Logain actually ignore Alistair, or assuming that Kaelin and Alistair get along pretty well, not assuming there's very little sibling rivalry between the two, it's very clearly established Kaelin's the heir, Alistair's a spare, even if he is illegitimate. What if Alistair, because I think this is kind of true in the game, you can kind of see it, and it might have more to do with how they're raised, but I think Alistair's smarter than Kaelin is. So what if Logain notices that and kind of puts his attention onto, okay, to make sure that this kid does not try and usurp his older brother, let's make sure that he is being trained to take my job one day.
Trying to be smarter than Kaelin is like trying to step over a limbo bar that is lying on the floor.
Yeah, the bar is in hell, guys.
That's true.
Yeah, that's also true, but that I feel like that would make Logain more determined if he sees that Alistair is even the tiniest bit more intelligent to be like, this kid is going to be the one who's actually in charge. We need to make sure he's loyal to his brother and that whoever he marries or whatever is going to be loyal to the crown. Kuzlin marriage still happens.
Yes. All right.
I will die on that hill.
Those are great points. Unfortunately, we are out of time, and we could keep talking about these ad nauseum forever, but we are out of time. So I'm going to go around and everyone can tell people where they can find you and anything you want to plug. So we'll start with C.W. Rogers.
So, as mentioned at the top of the episode, I am CW Rogers 6 in the Discord, but I'm also CW Rogers 6 on all the socials worth having and some that are not. I do a whole bunch of things that I don't list at the end of every episode. If you like Star Wars podcasts, I have 2 of them. If you like books, I write a bunch of them. You can go to my socials. Again, they're at CW Rogers 6 on basically everything, and that'll take you to links where you can find everything I do.
All right. LVCC 13.
I am LVCC13 or Lizzie, and you can find my voice in the Avengers audio drama on all the major podcatchers and on YouTube, where I play the Wasp. We just had an episode release recently, and if you want to listen to me yell at Spider-Man, that's the episode to listen to, and it was hilarious.
Mm-hmm. Awesome. And then last but not least, the Crimson Knight.
Hi, I'm Steven, or the Crimson Knight on Discord.
Mm-hmm. Awesome. Thank you all for being here. We greatly appreciate all that you do and all the support. This is a great episode, great fun little discussion. If you've got a what if and you're listening, come join our Discord and pop it in there and we'll discuss it. And other than that, that's all we have here. Thank you all for listening to the Dragon Age Lorecast. We'll see you next time. Thanks for listening to the Dragon Age Lorecast. You can find us on Twitter at DA Lorecast.
If you have any lore questions, topics to unpack, or side character suggestions, join our Cups Podcasting and More Discord server. It's easily the best place on the internet. You can also support us financially through our Patreon. You can find us there on patreon.com/DragonAgeLorecast.
The Dragon Age Lorecast is part of the Robots Radio Network. For more information about the Robots Radio Network, join the Discord server via the link in our episode description.
If you enjoyed the show or learned something new today, please subscribe, leave us a review, and join the Patreon. And if you enjoyed our intro and outro music, give a big thank you to Pipeman Studios. Thank you, Pipeman. Thanks again for listening to the Dragon Age Lorecast. We'll see you next time.
Are you a fan of Elden Ring? Are you confused about the lore as pretty much everyone else? We've got you covered. Check out the Elden Archives, a lore podcast that helps to explain every little confusing detail about the lands between. Things like what exactly happened on the Night of the Black Knives, or what we really know about characters like Mikola. Just like the show you're listening to now, we're on the Robots Radio Network, so you know it'll be good. Wondering how to find the show? Easy. Either go to robotsradio.net or search Elden Archives on whatever podcatcher you're using right now. Bookmark the show for later, and we'll see you in the lands between. Again, that's The Elden Archives, a FromSoft Lorecast available everywhere.